So I want to welcome you to our new web class series on how just 4 square feet can earn you $6,000 a month getting into salt therapy, particularly the industry. Hi, everyone. My name is Leo Tonkin, founder and CEO of Salt Chamber. And today I want to talk to you about what we have known in the business as our salt booth. And when we talk about 4 square feet, that's what a salt booth can be. Now, booths basically are an enclosed space that can be occupied where something can be done. For some of you, you can recall different types of booths. Growing up, there was the photo booth. You have a recording booth. For some of you, we would remember actually using a telephone booth. But there's sun tanning booths, there's cryotherapy booths, there's infrared sauna booths, flotation pods these days. They even have privacy booths in corporate environments, and breastfeeding booths in airports. And so a salt booth also is something that provides a therapy, and it's known as halotherapy, dry salt therapy. And what makes a booth a salt booth is having a halo generator. So, not to give you too technical of the terms, we do want to talk just for a moment about where this all came from. Halotherapy is dry salt therapy. It has its roots from Eastern Europe and throughout Russia, and really evolved from what is known as speleotherapy. Down inside these salt mines and caves, where the miners used to work, they were exposed to the salt dust. Very different climate conditions, temperature and humidities, but basically they were working, grinding and chiseling at the salt. And in those environments, there was no pollen, no radon. And they realized these were the healthy people. During the time of plague and great disease, people used to be healthy, and they noticed that being in this environment had an effect. And so in some of the hollowed out areas, they started to provide healthcare down inside these mines. People would travel great distance and at great costs. And this is what was known as speleotherapy inside of the cave. And it became very popular, where people would actually go down and spend days like a resort, getting healthy, being exposed to the salt particles that were in the air. Well, along came the Russians back in the mid-1900s, towards the mid-1900s, to try to figure out a way of developing a device that could replicate this. This was known as a halo generator. This was the first one created back in 1976. And basically, this is a machine that takes air into it, and it fills with salt. It crushes and grinds it into very precise sized particles that then get dispersed into a room. And that is what became known, synonymous with halotherapy, is a device that could replicate those salt particles in the air. And these particles, very small. A lot of studies that they were doing on the research on it. In fact, the first salt rooms that were being developed were in hospitals and clinics. They made them look like they were down in the salt mines. They were child daycare centers. And they started to pop up as salt rooms. Now, why is it so effective? Well, if you take a look at salt, we've known it to have therapeutic qualities for years, whether it's saline solutions, bath salts, gargling, whatnot. But that salt is what we call wet salt therapy. Like being by the ocean, yes, the particles in the air are great, and it's great for your skin. However, halotherapy is about dry salt therapy. And what makes the characteristic so beneficial is that when it's dry, it's super absorbent. So as you breathe in these salt particles, it's pulling out the mucus, the allergens, the dust that you and I breathe in. And because it's also anti-inflammatory, for people that have restricted airway passages, like people with asthma or COPD, it helps open up the airway passages. And it's antibacterial. Dry salt is known for its antibacterial quality. So when you inhale this into your body or get it onto your skin, it really is killing the bacteria and viruses. So it's particularly in respiratory issues. But anti-inflammatory works like the skin when we break out with eczema and psoriasis. So salt therapy was something that was being developed in salt rooms here in the United States. And basically, you had this halo generator, which was this piece of equipment that basically would be attached, okay, to a room where you would feed in the salt, it would grind it up and disperse it into a room. Now, these particles that this machine would generate are very small. They are about 1 to 2 microns. How big is a micron? Well, according to this diagram, if you pull out a piece of your hair, that's like 50 to 70 microns. 2 microns is so small. That's how come it could get into the skin and how it can get into our respiratory system. So salt rooms were being developed and they were mounted on a wall. They needed to be connected to the HVAC system in that room so that couldn't get corrosive. And you had to be strategic about how you actually design and build a salt room. And so in 2012, Salt Chamber was the first company really to market salt therapy, starting out in the spa and wellness industry. And we had 2 different types of halo generators that we were using into our designs of salt rooms. And that's how we began the business. However, we really started to revolutionize the whole industry when we first brought to market at the same time what was known as a salt booth. And we were the first ones to actually take a halo generator and put it on to a salt booth. And this was the first time that this was being marketed. Now, we didn't really recognize at the time and how much of a game changer this was, because literally what it did was alter the traditional salt rooms where you are in a group setting with 45 minutes to schedule to now an individual experience. And so when we started to market the first original salt booth, that was the premise. And a lot of great benefit for that when you start to take a look at that. All of a sudden now, you're able to reduce an effective salt session from being in a room for 45 minutes to as little as 10 minutes. Again, this has to do with what's the right amount of salt concentration and the cubic volume of air that you're filling. It makes sense that in a larger room with multiple people, to have the same effect in a very smaller space, the time difference would shift. This also was a great value to a business person and to the customer, because now you could have more flexible scheduling. Every 10 minutes, you could have somebody in a salt booth where salt rooms start and end precisely at certain times. So having a booth helps increase the frequency and usage. Thus, you would sell more packages or memberships. And so there's just a lot of great things that it started to do for people wanting to get into the industry. It really made it simple to take a very small piece of square footage, because real estate is what we pay for every month, our lease. Well, how are we generating revenue? So the booth was great because unlike a salt room, there was no HVAC issues. There was no build out or permits. Okay, it really comes delivered. You just basically plug it in. Your consumables are minimal in salt. There was no special license, certifications. From Salt Chamber, we provided all the training, marketing materials, protocols. So now all of a sudden, it made it easy for people to get into the industry. The next thing that really impacted the business was we had basically the same model of halo generator that we used for rooms was what we were using for our booths. And we really decided to work with our partners that make medical devices to develop a smaller unit that was designed specifically for our salt booths, and that was also for smaller salt rooms. And thus, we created the multi-salt effects. Well, this was also a big difference because now, from the larger type of halo generator that we were using for the same cost for larger rooms, we were now being able to do this here in the United States and really create a different pricing model that made it easier for people to get into the business. And we expanded our line of salt booths, from the original salt booth to lots of requests for people for home use, where they just wanted the nuts and bolts of a unit that could fit through basically any door in a home, to even working with an architect to develop one that was more high-end, that had backlighted Himalayan salt walls and different ways for that to be an experience. And just recently, Salt Chamber introduced the Salt and Sound booth, which is combining the efficacy of halotherapy with chromotherapy and sound therapy. You've got synchronized lighting system with this white Himalayan brick wall. You got special Starfire tempered glass that the LED lights are shining through to really increase the experience, along with frequency infused music that really enhances the overall experience. So these are part of what people are utilizing in terms of getting into the salt therapy business. So you know about, what the industry is and how people are looking at using the salt booths. The why of it really makes a lot of sense as well. Where else can you take a small square footage of a footprint of a space? Less than 4 feet, right? And what you can do with that, and if you look at the cost between what our salt booths range in and the consumables of the salts that utilized is literally pennies a session with low power consumption and very little labor and maintenance, it was starting to look like a pretty interesting business proposition for people, especially the return on the investment. When you start to look at how often it's utilized and what you charge per session, you start to get a picture of how a small footprint could be a revenue generator. So just if you were at the low utilization of doing one person an hour during the day, that would generate at least $6,000 a month in revenue. In other words, the booth will pay for itself in a very short period of time. Plus, it doesn't take much of other investment other than the equipment. That's why wellness facilities, massage therapists, healing and detox centers, even assisted living facilities are utilizing a very small space, like in a corner. Or if you look at the end of a hallway or where you may have dead space, where chiropractors and nutritionists, float centers, and other healing and detox centers are incorporating halotherapy. Day spas, sun tanning facilities, beauty salons. We're starting to see how plastic surgeons and dermatologists are creating a private experience in a room where they can actually provide real evidence-based wellness. Salt facilities in conjunction with salt rooms, country clubs are utilizing it. Again, this is something that can be in a lobby or an open area and work as well. So lots of different ways that people are incorporating getting into the salt therapy industry. It's the same halo generator that even if you were interested in other booths or other ways to take advantage of your space by converting an underutilized room, this is what our salt therapy equipment is designed for. So why get into this in an existing business? Well, we want to make it easy for people to go get into the industry. It's been growing over the years. You're hearing more about it. It's something that maybe many of you have been thinking about doing. You could develop an additional revenue center with no additional labor. So here you can take an underutilized area and really convert that small footprint into something that really provides a whole new wellness modality. I think this will give people an opportunity, you as a business, to attract maybe different customers or a clientele, as well as cross-market to your current customers. This can be packaged with other service treatments. And we've seen a lot of different ways that this is utilized in a ritual or a protocol and doing different things and doing a salt booth session as well. So this is something that can be added very easily. You're providing a wellness modality that produces results for people. And there's also an additional retail component if you combine it with offering and selling salt-based products that exist out there in the marketplace. So from us here at Salt Chamber, we manufacture our original salt booth, the multi-salt booth, and our salt and sound booth. And that includes our multi-salt effects halo generator with some halo salt and all types of information that you need to be successful. Our machines are made in a medical device company in Serbia, and the booths are made right in the United States in our facilities here, where we are the only US-based company that does everything from design to the decor to our trade show. So if you're in South Florida, please come and visit us. Everything that we do is really to the standards of what we think is the best equipment and service out there. From UL certification of safety to our pharmaceutical standards of salt that is utilized, to our warranty, to having a spare parts kit, to provide training, as well as having a US-based on-site service and support center. That's what we're about. We have marketing materials that really could be utilized to show about what the salt booth experience is all about. And this is a real simple information that you want to equip your customers with. We also suggest that there could be signage that you could utilize. You might want an additional revenue of some retail products. And we strongly recommend that you become part of the Salt Therapy Association, where they have a lot of pre-printed materials that get into the science and the research behind the benefits that match up with people's different conditions, including all what you see right here. So what are the next steps? Well, that's up to you. You could schedule a free consultation if you're interested in wanting more information, or if you're simply looking at what some of the differences are with our booth or equipment, or you have some questions, or you just want some time to talk. Schedule the time. If you've been thinking about doing this, really, we make it simple for you to get into this industry and be successful. This is really about how you can take a small amount of square footage and provide a great wellness modality with very little investment to really generate additional revenue in your existing business. Thank you all very much, and have a great day.